the lieutenant.
And no other witnesses?
No other witnesses.
See, that's the question that I look at, having investigated criminal activities and alleged criminal activities and all these things that go to court, is that you look at the evidence that you have before you, and you look at eyewitness testimony,
right.
You look at the credibility of those that give testimony,
right.
and then you look for physical evidence,
right.
That would go in this situation. And it appears to me, from what you're telling me, that you've got two quasi-witnesses that were in the vicinity when this incident took place and really can't say, I watched this, bit by bit transpire. That leaves two people, the shooter and the one that got shot. What bothers me right now in my radio studio, I have every piece of paper that is on your website at defendmichael.com. And folks can go there and see the same information. I have it strewn out everywhere. I've been reading everything, trying to glean as much information as I can before talking to you.
Yes.
And it seems to me that Michael is not given the usual benefit of the doubt when you have no other information. If they had surveillance drones, they had pictures, if this happened in some giant forum with hundreds of people, then you would have to take that into account.
Right.
Let me ask another question, because this is goes to credibility. On the website, defendmichael.com, there is an evaluation, one of the military evaluations for him, because that's what I would assume they would look at. What is the character of this soldier? Is he a loose cannon? Has the military been having problems with him? Is this something we can look at that would support the idea that he would go out and try to execute this guy?
Right.
And you have an evaluation up here on the website. Is this the most recent evaluation before the incident took place?
Yes, that happened in March.
This is a sterling evaluation. If folks can go to defendmichael.com and read it, it says everything from we put this guy in charge of millions of dollars of equipment to all of his morals, his abilities, his duties have all been sterling, to individual write-ups saying, here's a guy that's on his fast track to promotion. He has the ability to discern and weed out information, which it sounds like this is what he's trying to do. Right. He's trying to gain information that will protect him and his men from future attack. This is, in my opinion, this evaluation is the soldier's soldier. This is the boy you put on the military recruiting poster to get other people to serve the military. So I see nothing in this document to say, this guy is just out of control. He's a hothead. He's just looking for vengeance. I see nothing there.
Right.
Is there any other facts to the trial itself that would be of note?
Well, actually, and let me respond to that, and then I want to go back and talk about the forensic evidence if I can. But no, the evidence at trial really supports Michael. It says that his soldiers testified that Michael was deeply troubled over the death of his soldiers. It affects him to this day. It's very difficult for him to talk about it. They testified that Michael was not sleeping, that he seemed unfocused and unable to concentrate on things. So he was, all that evidence together with the fact that Michael was he wasn't operating the way Michael normally operates. You would have thought that somebody would have seen that in his command and not given Michael. If you're a police chief, you understand that if a police officer is involved in a shooting or partner shooting, that partner that's not shot has absolutely nothing to do with that investigation.
Absolutely.
For obvious reasons. Michael feels pain. Michael hurts. Michael is so upset about the loss of these soldiers. That was the one thing that he promised the platoon sergeant's wife the day before they deployed. She said to him, Michael, bring my husband home to me. And he promised her, I'm going to bring these guys back.
Yeah.
And so he was deeply troubled. So you would have thought that somebody would have picked up on the fact that Michael was deeply troubled by the loss of these guys and would have not put him in a situation where he tried to take matters in his own hand by doing the interrogation.
Right.
It was just kind of a recipe for disaster. But no, there was nothing else at the trial that indicated that Michael was a hothead, that he couldn't control himself, or he was out for vengeance. There was no testimony about that at all.
That's very important because, again, lacking any other information from everything that I've heard you say, from everything that I've read, this is a bizarre case. This is just bizarre. And I'm not, Vicki, a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not one of those people that likes to just jump off into, the government's out to get people, but I'm wondering, are we looking at just overt incompetency? There is no doubt in my mind there is a lot of political correctness going on with the fight of this war. I firmly believe that if Michael was fighting in Vietnam, World War I, World War II, he'd have a medal on his chest, and he'd be either getting celebrated at home or he'd be doing his job in the field of operation. Right. So we have a lot of political correctness going on. Is this what we're seeing. This is absolutely bizarre. Now, it's unfortunate that he goes before a military tribunal. Is that correct?
A courts-martial.
A court-martial, and he goes, people that have not served in combat. You have that separation of reality between the paper pusher and the soldier in the field. That is unfortunate. But you still hope that those people are competent to the facts.
Yeah, initially the jury, hearing all this evidence, they didn't hear Dr. McDonald's evidence because Dr. McDonald was sent home and never testified. So they didn't know that the government's own expert agreed with the defense theory and version of how the shooting occurred. But having heard the evidence about Michael's record and the kind of leader that he was, they gave him 25 years. 5 years old at the time they gave him his 25-year sentence.
Wow.
The general, of course, we learned of Dr. McDonald's opinion and the evidence that was withheld after Michael was convicted, and so we moved for a new trial. We moved for a mistrial and then a new trial. The judge denied that on March 20th of last year, and Michael was taken into custody. The general, it's my understanding, in a court-martial has to approve the findings and the sentence. And so what we were asking General Townsend at the 101st Airborne to do was to send Michael back for a new trial. He had the power to do that. I mean, it's kind of hard to say that a jury had all the evidence they needed to decide this case when they didn't know, as I said, that Dr. McDonald agreed with the defense version.
Right.
He didn't do that. General Townsend didn't do that. He didn't set it for a new trial, but he did reduce Michael's sentence to 20 years. He gave him a 5-year break. In January, we had a hearing before the Army Clemency and Parole Board, and we were asking them for a new trial. Apparently, they don't have the authority to do that, but we asked them to suspend Michael's sentence or to do a substantial reduction. They didn't substantially reduce it, but they did give him a 5-year break. So right now, his sentence stands at 15 years.
Okay. He would be there until, roughly about 40 years old?
Yes, if he doesn't get parole. I mean, they have parole in the military justice system, so I think he has to serve a third before he's even eligible for parole.
So have all appeals and those things been exhausted? I'm not familiar with the military system. You wanted a new trial,
right,
and that didn't happen. Is there any more appeal process left for you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we're in the middle of the appeal right now.
Okay.
Michael's lawyers, of course, we're claiming this was misconduct and a Brady violation, so that's the primary issue on appeal. The lawyers for Michael filed their brief December 22nd. The government's brief was due January 22nd. They asked for an extension, and their brief is not due until April 21st.
Okay. This is just amazing. My emotions just want to run. I start screaming when I hear about this, Vicki, because I'm thinking to myself, and we're just a stone's throw here from Fort Riley, where we have thousands of soldiers that are doing the same work that your son was called to do. Go to a foreign country, defend this nation, right, and they're fighting and dying, and I can't pretend to know what a soldier goes through. But I can tell you as a police officer, when you go into harm's way, one of the many things that flashes through your mind is that if things really go bad, I hope I'm given a fair shake by the bureaucracy and the establishments that put me into this job, right, that's asked me to go. And that's all you ask for.
Right.
And there's enough stress going to war, wondering if you're going to make it back, right, you're going to be able to do your job, to wonder about, if I shoot somebody in the combat zone, if defending myself, are they going to sell me out?
Right.
Are they going to throw me to the wolves? And this appears to be what's taking place. I've been racking my brain thinking how I can help you to find, and your boy to find a better way. My first thought was, I know you've got some good senators and people in your state. I know Senator Inhofe is a good man, and but you have already reached out to those folks. Is that correct?
We have, and see, that's a little bit of the catch-22 in this whole process. Initially, when I contacted the senators and congressmen, I got a response, it's under the UCMJ, it's in the military justice system, and we can't get involved. Ethically, they can't, just like they couldn't get involved in a civilian criminal trial. Once they started hearing what happened to Michael and the terrible, everything that could go wrong went wrong here. First
right.
of all, Mansour was released. Secondly, the company commander tells Michael and the platoon that he hit to take him home. The third thing is the way the prosecutors behaved in trial. And if people want to help,
yes.
what I'm asking them is to do three things. First of all, share Michael's story, because people need to know, if you support the troops, you need to support the troops. And this is a soldier that needs support, and he needs help. And the only way that we can get him the help that he needs is to have a groundswell of support from
right.
him. So that's my first thing, is to share his story.
And Vicki, you have on your website, on defendmichael.com, you have a place where if people are motivated by this, they can send money, they can donate to the huge costs that I'm sure are incurring trying to get defense for your boy. They can also send letters to him.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. I'm working on one right now, and you can find it at defendmichael.com. It has his inmate number and all the things that you need, the address, to be able to send him a letter of encouragement.